Hello, ladies. My name is January Donovan, and I am a self worth strategist. And I train women how to own their worthiness so that they can show up and truly become the light that they were called to be in the world. I love what I do. I've been training women for 20 years. And I realize is that so many of us have never been taught how. How our worth has everything to do with our decision and who we spend our time with, who we spend our life with, the work that we choose, how we value ourselves, and it's so intricately connected. And so my work gives me that beautiful privilege of walking into women's journey of mastering their worth. So, welcome to this mini session that I'm going to walk you through and training you on, are you really chasing your dreams? Because the reality is that when we were born, there was a dream that was placed in our heart. And that dream has everything to do with our call and our contribution to the world. Now, we might have first started out dreaming about this beautiful adventure, or we want to be a doctor, we want to be a scientist, we want to be in Hollywood. But along the years of growing up, we were taught, be realistic. Those are awesome dreams, but they're not for you. And so most of us were never schooled in how to chase that dream that was placed for us to chase and fulfill in our lifetime. Major problem. Our dreams are so connected to our contribution. And the way we are able to truly have that level of fulfillment is to contribute our value to the world. And so today I'm going to walk you through a little bit about this process because it is so important for us to understand how we can and how we should, and why it is our obligation to chase the dreams that we hold deep in our heart. I'm going to share my screen so that I'm going to walk you through this journey. So now I'm in the small screen right here. And I'm in the beach right now, as you can tell, and giving you this training. I'm joking, it's a screensaver. It makes me happy when I look at it, and it makes me become a better trainer because I'm living that awesome beach life in my mind. So here we go. What does it mean to chase your dreams? What does it mean to go after something? Okay. It means that we are chasing something greater than our current reality, right? It means that we want to elevate. It means that it's something that we are ascending towards, because it wouldn't be just a dream if it was something that we knew exactly sort of how to do, or something that was easy and comfortable. You know, my dream is to make a peanut butter and jelly. No, it's something that almost makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable and makes us feel as though, wait a minute, I really want that. And I don't know if I can get it, right? So that dream, okay, that purpose of our dream is really to help us ascend to our higher self. Because when we're chasing something bigger than us, it actually makes us bigger. It makes us learn new skills, new way of thinking so that we could have that dream, right? If we wanted to dream to be a speaker, for me, I always wanted to have a dream of contributing to women in the world. I wanted to change culture. I wanted women to live lives of contribution. Now, part of that dream was having to speak in front of people. Now, I didn't like that. I didn't want to speak in front of people. I was very comfortable and happy with writing and training in the comfort of my own space, but not on stage. But that dream that I held so deep in my heart to say, you know, I believe it is time that we give women freedom, internal freedom. I want women to have a voice. I want women to have the joy of life and that level of fulfillment. Well, that dream led me to the reality that I had to learn to speak in front of people. I had to learn all these new skills. I had to really master certain arenas of my life that I just never thought I needed to master. There was no purpose except when it's attached to a dream. And so it's so important for us to recognize that the dreams are there to actually help us. It's there to usher us to become a higher and elevated version of ourselves. And that's why it's so important. Here's the second point. Where does our dreams come from? The desires of our hearts. What are we told? Well, we're told usually two things. Go for all your desires, don't train it, or don't pay attention to your desires. They are bad. Okay, we have two radical extremes that really has damaged women's voice in the world. So what does desire mean? Desire is an expression of, it's the deep love from within. That's why it's desire. You know, it's nothing shallow. It's really something from within. Now, the word desire means of the sire, actually, sire is Latin of the Father's heart. It actually, in some translation, it says from within. Okay. In other words, that strong impulse to achieve something is actually something already in you, seeking to come out. That's from Derek Reindl. Because that's really powerful for you to think about, that the desires of our heart are there already seeking for us to actually come out, because our dreams comes from those desires, right? You're not going to dream something you probably don't desire. Okay, you might choose a job based on the fact that you need to find money, or it's what your parents think, but it's not necessarily from a desire that comes from within that allows us to dream. So that's really important for us to recognize, that we cannot silence those desires that were given to us. We have to give birth to that desire. Now, the problem is that there's a conflict within us, because we were never really taught, I would say, properly what desires meant, or how we need to order these desires, right? There's sort of this conflict of what our parents tell us about desires or not tell us, or what the world tells us. So here's some of the conflicts, right? Desires are bad. They are destructive. Well, are they? Immature desires are destructive, but if our desire is to change the world, if our desire is to help women, if our desire is to become mothers, if our desire is to buy a pair of shoes so that we can walk and feel comfortably about certain things, well, are they really bad, right? And so we need to be careful about how it's blanketed in our culture. Desires are unfulfilling. Can we truly live a fulfilling life if we're not living the desires of our hearts? I don't know about that, because we can't be happy unless we're living our call. Where our call is connected to our dreams are connected to our desires. So we have to be careful about all these noises that we are almost absorbing in our external environment, and not really maybe paying attention to it because we don't have the words. We've been conditioned to, okay? Desires get you in trouble. Well, yes, some bad desires get us in trouble. Just some, everything can get us in trouble, right? Money can get us in trouble. Certain relationships can get us in trouble. It's not the relationship. It's how we are dealing, and how we can actually work in that relationship, right? It's the same thing with desires. It's the maturity of our desires, the maturity of our relationship, is the maturity of how we see success, money, motherhood. It's not that in itself that's wrong. It's how we're using it, okay? So our desires are not God's desires. Well, how do we know, right? These are, I'm provoking your question. So, well, I wonder what God's desire is for us. This is usually what I've written here, some of the things that I have gotten through the years that women sort of are in conflict with. Well, my desire for my child is for them to live the fullness of beauty, the fullness of truth, the fullness of goodness. And I want their freedom. I want them to live a life of abundance, of joy, and of contribution, to give of their time and their talent, right? And so I wonder if that could be God's dream for us. Well, where does that come from? Well, maybe the desires of our heart. We're going to go deeper. Our desires are vain. Well, it's only vain if it's not ordered towards a purpose. But if our desire is to have a beautiful home, is to give purpose to our children, and to create space for us, my husband and I are intentional about creating a beautiful space in our home, because we have 6 children, and we want them and their friends to make our house a hub. So everything that we put in our house, our pool, our backyard, our games, our food, we make it very intentional. Like, I make food not for just my family, but my friends, my children's friends. I'm intentional about it because I and yes, I, make good food and we try to make a beautiful plate setting, and it gets crazy with 6 children, but that desire to do that is there because it's intentionally and strategically there to reach my children. Okay, so I'm just giving you an example. Now, are they good? Well, I want it, but I don't deserve it. I hear that all the time. I want it. I want this great man. And the only reason why I'm not going for that great man because I would never deserve a great man like that. I remember feeling that way. Or I wish I could have that desire to be in Hollywood, but that's for the greats. I will never get that. We hear that all the time because this word be realistic has killed so many dreams and so many contributions in the world. Just be realistic. Well, we have to be a woman of vision. We can't just live in our current reality. How do we evolve into a different world? If you think about it, the Wright brothers, who were mechanics, if they were realistic, we would never have airplanes. If Martin Luther King was realistic, we would never have escaped slavery. If Mother Teresa was realistic, we would never have the House of the Dying in India. I mean, think about how this word being realistic has captivated and held hostage so many dreams that would have changed so many lives. Okay, that's too good for me. I hear that. So here's the problem. We do not have clarity on how to approach, how to strategically form our desires so that it's ordered towards our dreams and that our dreams are ordered towards our contribution. This is why I'm doing this class, because we could spend a lifetime never discovering the desires of our heart, therefore never discovering the great dream that leads us to contribute our God-given light so that we can actually live lives of fulfillment, as opposed to lives of quiet desperation, which is probably what we're seeing in our culture right now, when loneliness is it's not even a national crisis anymore. It's an international crisis. Suicide is in an alarming rate, which means that we're not fulfilled, because we could have all the possessions in the world. We could have all the fame. I mean, look at Robin Williams, right? But if we don't see our worth and our value, then we don't understand the level of fulfillment necessary to honor our worth. Okay. And so it's not about achievement. It's about contribution. We will never arrive at a level of contribution the way that it's going to fulfill us if we silence the desires of our heart that lead us to our dreams. This is so important. Now, here's the problem, is that just as when a baby is born, the baby doesn't know how to walk, talk, they don't even know how to sleep. You actually have to walk them through it. They don't know how to run. Well, our desires are the same. Our desires are born immature. Our desires are there. Maybe they start out vain. We are not born with mature desires, just like we're not born knowing how to run. We actually have to develop the desires of our heart. And the problem is that we're not given the tools to develop. So we automatically assume they are bad or we don't deserve it. No, we need to mature our desires. And here's what we need to realize. When we do not personally develop ourselves, we remain an infant in our thoughts, desires, and emotions. You've heard this, where people stay emotionally a 5-year-old, emotionally a teenager, and never mature. Well, it's the same thing with desires. Our desires could remain in this, I would say, infancy, which is the possession. We just desire possession. We all desire materialism. We all desire things. Well, that's an immature desire, because we all know logically and scientifically and concretely that material things don't really fulfill us. Well, because that's an immature desire. We first might desire the material. When I first started training women, the first few years I did, I remember being in conflict about shoes that I wanted to buy. And I remember my mentor said, January, why are you in conflict? Use your shoes to contribute value to the people around you. And so your shoes is no longer just a mere possession, because I didn't want to be just a woman of possession and be consumed by materialism. I wanted purpose. And so she said, well, you put purpose into the shoes. Well, we put purpose into our house, our homes, our money, our cars. Everything then becomes a vehicle of contribution. That's how we mature our desires. Here's the path. Our desires mature when we grow, which is why it is so important for us to personally develop ourselves. We develop our worth, we develop our skill, we develop our mindset, so that we don't stay in the infancy state of our desires, which is just mere possession. Now we go a little bit, I call it the teenage years, and we say, "Oh, I want that power," right? And we think, well, power is going to make me happy and fulfilled. Well, no, it doesn't. We have a lot of powerful people who are so unhappy and so unfulfilled to a point where they take their life away. And then we grow a little bit and we realize we develop our skills and we develop our mindset. And we say, it's about living a life of perfection, which is what we hear all day long. It's about perfection. We overuse it. It's been abused. And we have women that are starving themselves into perfection. Well, you could have everything so perfect. You could have the perfect house, the perfect relationship, the perfect everything. But if you don't have purpose, it's not fulfilling. And so the key ingredient here is that if we have to be constantly personally developing who we are, this is why we do the self-worth training, because we're constantly developing ourselves, but never for an end in itself. The whole reason why we train ourselves and develop ourselves is so that we can contribute more of ourselves. That is a purpose. So all our possession, all our power, all the perfection in which the gifts of a different relationship that looks beautiful, that people admire, all of that can be bundled into purpose. And our purpose, we all have a universal and unique purpose. It's universal because everybody has the same purpose, and that is to contribute their light to the world. And it's also unique because it's unique to me and it's unique to you. I cannot contribute what you have to offer the world because we're two different people, and vice versa. And that goes for every woman. And that's what makes it so beautiful, right? And so it's important for us to really mature our desires, because our desires reveal our call. They reveal our contribution. They actually reveal our happiness. They also reveal our interests, our aptitudes, our unique gifts. And so we need to mature our desires so that we can give more of ourselves and not just get stuck that our desires are bad or good because they're focused on possession. Yes, but we must grow just as we mature from our baby state, right? When we do not train our desires, we create an internal conflict that looks a lot like resentment, unfulfillment, anxiety, anger, depression, and midlife crisis, ladies. Okay, we live unfulfilling lives. So yes, we have to pay attention to those desires. And so what do we need to do? We need to, number one, pay attention to our desires. We need to observe them, not judge it. We need to learn from them. Oh, like this, like that about myself. And then we need to test it. Okay, it's important that we test it against our beliefs. Is this desire good? Is this desire beneficial for humanity? Is this desire good for me? Is it giving me peace? We need to test it. And then we need to train it. We need to recognize that our ultimate purpose for desire is contribution. We need to give it purpose, and we need to use it always for good. And that's how we need to look at desires. This is the way we mature our desires, so we don't waste the desires of our heart, rather we use it. The act of dreaming brings us one step closer to our universal call and unique call. Universal call that is for us to contribute our light, and unique to all of us. Our divine purpose will lead us to our unique contribution to the world. That is so beautiful, because think about it. You have a call that's so unique, and only you can contribute to the world. And that's why you are so worthy of all that is good and beautiful, because nobody can give what you can give to the world. I mean, just ponder it, right? Your dream truly will lead you to your call. Here's the path, ladies, and I want you to see your purpose leads you to your dreams. Your desires were going to lead you to your dreams, right? The desires where we explore the things that we love. And then your dreams is a way for us to expand ourselves. Dreams always come before discipline. And then we realize, what's the purpose of all these dreams? It gives us meaning. And we realize that that purpose has everything to do with our contribution to the world. And that's generosity. And that is what makes a woman beautiful, is her micro-generosity in the act of contribution. It is such a gift. And when you live a life of micro and macro contribution, you will never be unhappy or not fulfilled. You will be constantly giving your highest best self in every moment, because you have the awareness and the skill to contribute every single moment. So here's my set of questionnaire for you that I want you to ponder, okay? And it's important that we ask these questions in order to begin the journey. Number one, are you doing what you love to do right now? Is your heart singing? Is your heart? And my friend actually was the one who sent this to me, my best friend. and said, is your heart singing? And it's that metaphor of a dream, and that there's that freedom that you're doing what you love to do, whether it's a stay home. I am a stay home and I also run two companies. So I'm doing both and I'm living my dream, but it wasn't always like that, right? But are you, so that you can be honest with yourself? Number two, is your work fulfilling at home or at work? Is it fulfilling you? And if not, well, we need to recalibrate, right? We need to train. Number three, if you could wave a magic wand, what would your ideal work life look like? Now, work life doesn't mean that you're working outside your home or you're staying home. Work life is the everyday activity that we do to provide value to other people or to our community. It's working at home or outside of our home, right? What would that ideal day look like? Number four, what would happen if you keep doing what you're currently doing? What would happen? Do you end up in the same place? Would you be frustrated? Would you be resentful? Would you be anxiety? Or what do you want to do about it? Let's just say you're in a place where you're like, you know what, I'm actually not fulfilled. This is not the work I want to do. I want to work backwards to my dream. What are you going to do about it? And lastly, what concrete action steps do you need to do to start living from your dream backwards? And that's what I tell women. Live always from the dream backwards. All we need to do is to train ourselves, recognize those desires of our heart through a skill set and a mindset training, and then live from that. Because we owe it to the world to cultivate the dreams and the desires we have in order to contribute our light to the world. Thank you, ladies. I have attached a PDF here that you can actually go through and walk you through some of these trainings, because they're important questions in our lifetime. And we need to be constantly asking the right questions in order for us to get to the right answer and live that life that truly is abundant and worthy of all that's good and beautiful. And remember, nobody can do this work other than you. That the internal work of a woman, the process inside, is really a path for her internal freedom, which is what we all crave for. So thank you for watching. Go do your training, and I would believe that there is something you're here to contribute in your lifetime. So chase that dream. This is your guide and your friend, January Donovan, self-worth strategist, changing the world one woman's worth at a time, starting with yours.